Welcome to A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Monday, August the 5th. We're very happy to have you in for another episode of the Prime Time program. News keeps flying around Middle Tennessee fast and furiously, but with now Quandre Diggs signed to the Titans as a safety, though not officially announced yet by the team. I would anticipate that before they do take the practice field either tomorrow in a closed session or Wednesday and Thursday when it is open to media, of which we will be taking part in. But beyond Quandre Diggs, we've got a game this week. The Titans have a game this week. They will host the San Francisco 49ers in preseason action at Nissan Stadium. There is a lot of different things to dive into. And as a matter of fact, today the team did put out their first media release, which also comes with the first unofficial depth chart of the season. So we will dive into the biggest takeaways from the unofficial depth chart that are worth keeping an eye on. And we will also get into the things that we feel like we've learned through 2 weeks of training camp and what we feel more concrete about. Bert will join us for In Case You Missed It. Apparently, it is going to be an Olympic-sized episode of In Case You Missed It with Robert Walsh tonight. We'll look forward to what he has brought us from the great games over in Paris. There's a lot of moving parts here on the Primetime Show, and we're looking forward to diving into all of it with you. I see a lot of comments about the dog today that I happened to I don't want to say that happened to find me because I did happen to find it. I had a situation this morning. For those of you who were not listening to the radio show, went out for a run. I live in the Germantown, Buena Vista, North Nashville area here. If you're familiar with Middle Tennessee, I know a lot of you live here. I know a lot of you don't. But went for a run this morning because I got up at 4:30, went out about 6:15, 6:20, made it to Rosa Parks and Rosa Parks and Monroe Avenue as I was getting ready to head over to the Bicentennial Mall. Again, for those of you familiar with downtown Nashville, and I happened to jog by the pet store that I go to for the cats. It's called Crossroads. They're incredible people over there. And what I saw at 6:30 this morning outside of Crossroads was a crate, a dog in a crate, a very small, little, scared, skinny white dog in a crate that had clearly been dumped by somebody. At least, they tried to get it to people who could help it at Crossroads, but found it this morning dumped at 6:30 a.m. Crossroads does not open until 10 a.m. So at that point, the decision was made for me to bring the dog back to the house and to try and help the dog as best I can. Took it for a walk, got a leash, went on a walk with the dog for the first time in God knows how long. I couldn't tell you how long it's been since I've had a dog on a leash walking around the block. And then had to go to the radio show. And Austin Stanley did me an incredible kindness because I could not let the dog in the house today. I had to put ice water and food out for it because he wherever he had come from, he clearly had fleas, and I can't have that in the house with the other pets that we have. So he put his crate in the shade and put him outside. But of course, it was 110 degrees outside in Middle Tennessee today. So Austin Stanley, famously a dog lover, was able to come and get the dog while I was doing the radio show and take it to Crossroads to be submitted and processed for adoption. We were calling the dog Happy because he was the sweetest boy, and he is the sweetest boy. And so if you're in the market for a puppy, he still seems very, very young. He was incredibly sweet. And I thought way too long today about keeping the dog for myself because he was I'm not a big dog person, but this little guy about sold me. So I'm fortunate that Austin came to the house, picked the dog up, took it to Crossroads, and got him processed for adoption so that we could help find him a home, because I did think about getting that damn dog today. And on top of the 3 cats that already live in the house, on top of football season getting ready to begin, which of course would have been a disaster. So we're very happy that Lucky is the first dog that I ever had. Oh, that made me sad. I haven't thought about Lucky in 15, 20 years. But Happy is what we called the dog today. I'm gonna put a picture of Happy up for you. So if you are interested in adopting this sweet boy, you are welcome to do so. Go over to Crossroads Pets here in North Nashville in the Germantown area, and they will be able to assist you in figuring out how to get Happy adopted, because he was very sweet and he is very sweet. And I want to make sure that he finds a good home. So that was how my morning started. And that was not something that I was anticipating on my day off from training camp. But still, that was a way too long explanation about what happened with the dog. So now many of you telling me to go get the damn dog. I know. It's Bryce Erickson points out the correct assessment here. Francis wasn't with the shit. You should have seen these cats eyeing the dog from the window this morning when I had old Happy in the backyard trying to figure out what the hell what do people do with dogs. I haven't been a dog person in a long time, so it was a unfamiliar ground for me, but we got it done. And again, thank you to Austin, who was able to help me with the assist. So go adopt Happy at Crossroads Pets here in North Nashville / Germantown area. And with that, we'll go ahead and start the show. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time here from the Zen Sports Studios. I'm Buck Rising. I'm proud as always to be presented to you by the wonderful people at Zen Sports. Download the app, plug in the promo code ATOZTN, and get in on all the action that Zen Sports has to offer, up to $100 on your no danger first wager in that Zen Sports app. Of course, TrueMath Fitness in the Gulch. Your first workout is free as a Middle Tennessee resident. No workout ever recycled or repeated. TrueMathFitness.com for more information. And Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer and your Ford Bronco headquarters. Go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com, and they will put you in position to succeed. So the unofficial depth chart is officially out. It is unofficial, and it is officially out. And I know those things can be kind of convoluted to wrap your head around, but that is indeed the case. I will put up a picture for you. Here it is in front of us. For those of you who need to maximize your screen size to be able to read, I can give you the highlights as I see them, because this is a different kind of a depth chart than we are used to looking at after the last 6 years working with the previous coaching staff. The word unofficial, of course, is written in bold type across the top to make sure that you know that this continues to adjust and change as they get ready for the September 8th opener in Chicago. But the preseason begins this weekend, this Saturday at Nissan Stadium against the Niners. And the depth chart just kind of helps, I think, people understand what the coaches are thinking on a week-by-week basis. A few things to note. 3 wide receivers. This is listed as a 3 wide receiver offense, an 11 personnel. Never in my life did I think I would cover a Tennessee Titans offense that started or had as their starting offense 3 wide receivers. I didn't think that there would ever be any other Titans offense but a 2 tight end offense. And now we have the 3 wide receiver set. So 11 personnel is this offense's base personnel with of course, Ridley, Hopkins, and Boyd listed as the starters. The primary backups to those 3, NWI, Traylon Burks, and Kyle Phillips, as of right now, the leader in the clubhouse in the backup slot competition. Now, the returners is also something to keep in mind here, and that will impact the wide receiver conversation. Because, of course, Mason Kinsey is listed as the starting punt returner. Tajay Spears listed as the starting kick returner. That was an interesting part of this conversation to me. So looking through a lot of the different stuff on the depth chart, I don't want to give away all of it before we talk about it together. It's your Two Rivers Ford take. As always, it's made possible by Two Rivers Ford. What was the biggest surprise to you on the Titans' unofficial depth chart? Because there are a couple of things that might, if not outright surprise you, at least make you kind of cock your head and say, hadn't thought about that before. Or that's a surprise. That's an upset. I did not anticipate that. There are a few things, I think, that meet that qualification. What is the biggest surprise on the Titans' unofficial depth chart, the first unofficial depth chart that we have. It is your Two Rivers Ford take. It is presented by the South's most trusted Ford dealer. That is, of course, Two Rivers Ford, your Ford Bronco headquarters. You see them driving all over town. Hell, you see them right there on your graphic. The Ford Bronco is a beautiful vehicle. In fact, Bert can attest to the Bronco Sport. He drives one himself. Whether it is the Bronco Sport, which is, of course, the smaller Bronco, or any number of their different Bronco trim options, Two Rivers Ford is your Ford Bronco headquarters. They are inviting you to come check out the Ford Bronco for yourself. You don't even have to be in the market for a vehicle. Just test drive, meet with their staff, understand what this vehicle is since it's being reintroduced back into the market over the course of the last 2 years. It is exceptional. I drive a Ford Explorer myself, of course, from Two Rivers Ford, but the Bronco is a great option. TwoRiversFord.com for more information, or just 7 miles east of Nashville International Airport, online at TwoRiversFord.com. Biggest surprise on the depth chart, the unofficial depth chart for you. Let's see. Kyle Phillips is the biggest surprise for Lewis Chesney on YouTube. So Kyle Phillips is listed as the backup slot receiver. The unofficial depth chart that was put out in the team's media guide today has him listed as that backup slot option, which of course is hotly contested. Jaquan Jackson, your 6th-round draft pick, NWI, has played some slot. Of course, Tyler Boyd is the starter, and there was never any disputing that in this particular situation. But behind Kyle Phillips is not Jaquan Jackson. It's Mason Kinsey right now, and then Jaquan Jackson listed on this particular depth chart. So Kyle Phillips, who has been making routine, just going through them. I don't want to say that he's just going through the motions. That would have come out incorrectly, and that's not what he's been doing. But he's not been, a big highlight of camp, but he's also consistently there. He's consistently practiced, and he continues to make plays where you notice and say, okay, there's Kyle Phillips. He's out there, making routine catches on the sideline, catching passes for third down conversions. Kearis Jackson is not listed in the slot on this particular depth chart. In fact, I don't see Kearis Jackson's name. Let's see. Looking at the wide receivers. Yeah, he's listed as the 3rd outside wide receiver option behind NWI. So right now it's Calvin Ridley, NWI, and then Kearis Jackson on one wide receiver slot. In the slot, it is Tyler Boyd, Kyle Phillips, Mason Kinsey, and Jaquan Jackson. And then the other outside spot is listed as DeAndre Hopkins, Treylon Burks, Trayshawn Harrison, and Sam Schnee, number 87, of course, Colton Dow, also in parentheses on that roster, who continues to work off PUP. Ryan Williams says, what's going on with Jamal Adams? Why hasn't he been around the past few practices? The only thing, I'm sorry, you guys hearing my text messages, Robert is dinging me unnecessarily because apparently I can't figure out how to get my text messages turned off on the new computer. Either way, Jamal Adams is being rested. Why Jamal Adams requires rest so early on has not been disclosed to us. I'm sure it will continue to be a talking point if he's not out there when next we are out there, which would be Wednesday. I am, obviously going to be skeptical of everything going on with Jamal Adams, especially given his injury history. But right now we're being told it's not an injury, that he is just simply being rested in these practices. And, I'll take the coaching staff at their word until such time as that's proven to be incorrect or proven to be less than accurate, because they have a data management or they have a load management process based on the data that they were able to take away from the GPS that is able to in real time track how much effort, how much energy, how much output these players are giving on the field relative to what they're supposed to be, relative to where they should be on the on how the strength and conditioning staff, how the training staff is paying attention to the players in different situations that they manage, right? Snead's circumstance is not the same as Nicholas Petit-Frere. Nicholas Petit-Frere is not the same as Jamal Adams, right? All of these different players dealing with a variety of different things, have different kind of histories, medical histories, all that stuff. So Ryan adds that he's not alarmist, but it is fishy regarding Jamal Adams. I'm with you. I don't even know that I would go so far as fishy yet, right? Because there's any number of reasons why he may need rest. But it's being described not as a personal day like Sadiq Charles, because Devin Mills brings up he might just be moving his family. No, because I have seen him at practice, not in uniform. Right now, the case just appears to be rest. So, okay, until such time as it requires additional poking and prodding and discussion and question asking, then we'll go from there, which of course will be the next time we're out there. And we'll see practice first, and then we'll speak to Brian Callahan. So then we'll be able to tell you what we saw. That's how that goes. Brad Anderson says, Cedric Gray's eye caught my name as well, talking about this depth chart. I assume Diggs will jump over Adams on the depth chart. Yes, because Quandre Diggs has not officially been announced, I would expect him to jump over Jamal Adams on that depth chart. And then to the point about Cedric Gray, because he is not listed as a starting linebacker, Cedric Gray is behind both Garrett Wallow and Chance Campbell, and Kenneth Murray and Jack Evans. Kenneth Murray and Jack Evans are the frontline starters on the off-ball linebackers in this base defensive look. Garrett Wallow, Chance Campbell listed as backups. Then Otis Reese, Luke Gifford, JoJo Doman, and Cedric Gray, and James Williams, who's also on that list, are all behind Wallow and Campbell. Now, that might be surprising to you, but Cedric Gray has not done anything to distinguish himself from Chance Campbell. In fact, Chance Campbell, I would argue, has at least been more noticeable in camp. Is that the end of the world? No. Does that mean that Chance Campbell is going to be, or that Cedric Gray is going to, not be any kind of meaningful contributor in his rookie year? I don't know. As a fourth-round pick, we will wait to find out, because camp only just begun about 2 weeks ago. So there's nothing. You don't have to take any. You don't have to go to extremes on any of this stuff. But with Cedric Gray being listed as, at best, the third, or, technically he's the, I guess he would technically be listed as the fifth or sixth linebacker off the depth chart. I would just call that a situation to monitor, because Kenneth Murray and Jack Gibbons have been the starters, and none of those players have really pushed them for those starting roles, at least early on in camp. I saw Key. I thought he is suspended. Well, yeah, he's going to be on the depth chart, though. And Key is not officially suspended yet. The league has not, as of what time is it? It's 7:40 p.m. Central Time on Monday, August the 5th, at the time that we are doing this live stream broadcast. And Arden Key, as of this time, has not officially been suspended by the league. The suspension is anticipated. For example, Danico Autry also expected to be suspended 6 games for the performance-enhancing drug policy. Danico Autry has already put out a statement saying that he is anticipating a suspension. Danico Autry's suspension has not yet been made official by the league. So something to keep an eye on. I would anticipate Arden Key being suspended. I do not know when the league is going to make that official. I don't know how much the appeals process before the suspension is made official is factoring in here. All I know is that we talked to Arden about it on Sunday or Saturday. I can't remember which day, after practice. And he no commented us, because right now there's nothing to comment on. So completely understand that at this point. And once it's official, then we can move forward as a result. But yeah, he continues to practice, and he continues to take all those reps. Weaver has not cut into his practice time to date. And they have to keep Arden in condition, because they will need him at some point. But really, really unfortunate. Really unfortunate for Arden and for the Titans, because their edge group is already super suspect, and losing Arden Key does not help that situation. All right, so biggest surprises on this unofficial depth chart. They're not really playing games with the rookies like they used to, right? J.C. Latham and Tavondre Sweat are both listed as starters in this defense, which should surprise absolutely nobody. But, it was always a thing with Mike Vrabel that rookies would be listed at the back of every position on the depth chart, no matter how unrealistic that seemed. In this depth chart, they're not screwing around that way. The rookies, who absolutely, obviously, are going to be starters in the case of Latham and Sweat, are being listed as such. So no huge surprises on this depth chart. Though Kinsey is the punt returner, I guess yeah, I will say that's a surprise. I did not anticipate Mason Kinsey leading the clubhouse among Kearis Jackson, Kyle Phillips, Jaquan Jackson, and others as the starting punt returner. But, we'll see how he manages the situation in preseason. And it all begins on Saturday against the Niners, which will be exciting. I'll, of course, be out there. The radio show, the pregame radio show that we do to get you ready for games and preseason games, because, of course, the Lee Company countdown to kickoff. By the way, shout out Lee Company. They came by the house today. The plumbing side of Lee Company to fix a couple of different things that I've been dealing with. Nothing is more annoying than when you can't get your water pressure right and you don't know anything about plumbing, which has been the case for me for about 2 weeks. So I appreciate them coming by. Anyway, they sponsor the pregame show that we do for 104.5 The Zone on Titans Radio. This year, it's Kayla Anderson who is hosting the show. It is Brad Hopkins and Blaine Bishop who are the players. So we'll have offense and defense. And then I am there for reporter, insider analysis type stuff. That will always be 3 hours before kickoff, before Titans Countdown begins on Titans Radio. 1 hour before kickoff. And then, of course, you can hear the games always on 104.5 The Zone with Mike Keith and Coach Mack and the rest of the crew. So we'll be doing that outside of Gate 3. It's been Gate 1 for the longest, but with the Nissan Stadium construction, we're now moved to Gate 3, which is on the north side of the end zone, close to the Juvenile Detention Center. So if you're hanging out on Saturday, come by Gate 3, and you can get autographs from Blaine Bishop and Brad Hopkins, a couple of Titans legends, and Kayla and I will also wave hi at you as well. And even you can get Alan Kirby's autograph. Kirby's always out there with us, sweating it out in the sun, as I expect it will be spicy on Saturday. So with all this being said, the defense complete, says John. Well, no, the edge rushing group is completely unsatisfactory right now outside of Harold Landry. Weaver is not a scrub. Weaver is an NFL player for sure. But, I've seen a full sample size of a season of Weaver. That was 2022 when Harold Landry tore his ACL. Weaver ended up playing in about 16 games. He had about 5.5 sacks. And, he wasn't the worst option by any stretch of the imagination, but they need a better option than Rashad Weaver if this is to be a more viable defense, because that defense also had Bud Dupree. That defense had Jeff Simmons. It had Danico Autry. It had T.R. Tart before he started to get, there's Tart was lazy while he was here. I don't think that's any secret. And I don't want to be completely unfair to the guy, but I think that's, kind of T.R. Tart's decisions and prioritizations of different things, I think, have played themselves out thusly. And he's playing for the Dolphins this year, so perhaps he'll have success there and get the contract that he's looking for there. But he didn't get the offseason payday that I think he thought he was going to get. And that was 2 years ago before he started worrying about or caring about the money the way that he did. So the defensive front was a lot better when Weaver had to start for Harold. This defense is not that. Now, Sweat and Jeff are going to be a problem for people. And how much Sweat is out there in the early going versus, how they manage his conditioning and things like that remains to be seen. But those two are a problem, and Harold is a problem. The rest of the defense, TBD, right? Snead is a good player. Awuzie is missing time with a calf injury. The safety position is fortified, definitely with Quandre Diggs, but I wouldn't call them complete by any stretch of the imagination. Now, they have added, about 6 new starters through the draft or free agency, and now via trade, of course, including L'Jarius Sneed. So they have remade a good bit of this defense, and it is a part of the process to build up to where it is that I think, Denard Wilson may want to be for as long as Denard Wilson is here. Charles Ladd says, I'm disappointed in Weaver. Thought he'd be much better. I mean, I don't know, Charles. Wasn't Weaver like a 5th-round pick? I don't. That's like saying that you thought Jaquan Jackson or Colton Dowell was going to be the long-term Titan solution at wide receiver when Rand Carthon has yet to spend more than a 6th-round pick on a wide receiver. If you're using day 3 draft capital on these guys, and a lot of times you can find viable NFL role players, and that's what Weaver is. He's a viable NFL role player. But to date, he has not yet exceeded status of role player. And, I guess I wouldn't put more expectations on him than a 5th-round pick who had played a lot of college football to that point. Weaver was not a finished product when he came into the pros, but he's more a finished product than one of these high upside type of players that may not have that many snaps in college football as Weaver did, but projects better with higher upside, higher athleticism, whatever the case may be, right? I think Rashad Weaver, it's fair to expect more from him. I think there's nothing wrong with being a little disappointed in what he's been able to do to date. But, like I said, day 3 draft picks, it's always kind of tough once you get to the 5th, 6th, 7th rounds that way. How does Landry look? He's getting paid bank, says Stephen King. Yeah, I mean, Harold looks like Harold, and he played down the stretch really, really well. Last season, I know that things were out of their reach by the time that Harold really started to come on. But Harold had a great second half of the year, and I think, provided that he stays healthy, can continue to build on that. Mo Francois says Adams blitzing will help with the rush. Well, it's been a long time. Jamal Adams has had success doing that, Mo. But again, this is why that makes that signing a bit suspect, especially if he's already missing time, as he is, because he is a defensive back that in his all-pro season, which was 2019 or 2020, I want to say it was 2019, that Jamal Adams had 9.5 sacks as a safety, which is, of course, not anybody having 9.5 sacks. Weaver had 5.5 sacks as a starting outside linebacker for 16 games, right? So Adams back in 2019, 2020 was that kind of a player, but he hasn't had a sack since then. It's been that long since Jamal Adams has been effective. In fact, he's hardly had any quarterback pressures since then. So that perhaps they can find a better way to utilize him than Seattle was, because Denard Wilson, of course, has familiarity, and Denard Wilson was on those Jets staffs that he was a Pro Bowl caliber player. But I just wouldn't put any kind of high expectation on Jamal Adams, because the team isn't putting high expectations on Jamal Adams. He's getting veteran minimum, right? He's not playing for nothing, because $1 million plus is not nothing to the vast majority of people, of course. But in terms of NFL money, he's playing for couch change at this point. So I wouldn't. Yes, he can help with that if he's right, but I think there's a lot of different if and when and maybe and all this different stuff around Jamal Adams until such time as we see concrete evidence of him being an impactful player again, because it's been a long time since Jamal Adams has been an impactful player. Last year, he was not a good player. He was allowing a completion percentage of north of 80% when he was targeted as a safety. He has not been effective as a rusher. He was missing a fair amount of tackles last year as well. That was a career high in terms of missed tackle percentage. And for a guy who's playing in the box a lot, that's not something that you can afford to have. So, yes, I would keep an eye on that. Amar says that's nothing for millionaire football players. Well, it's nothing for a guy like Jamal Adams, who has been the highest paid safety in the league. It's still real money for a lot of NFL football players, because most NFL football players are not millionaires, right? Most of them are not making that kind of money. Most of them don't get the opportunity to make veteran minimum, right? Because you have to have those accrued seasons that allow you to qualify for veteran minimum. And we know the average career it's less than 3.5 years now after COVID, which is really, really tough. All right. So things that we have learned from camp before we welcome Bert in here. A to Z Sports Prime Time is presented by the wonderful people at TrueMath Fitness in the Gulch. Go to TrueMathFitness.com for your first workout free as a Middle Tennessee resident. No workout recycled or repeated. TrueMath Fitness has you covered. So quickly, what is the biggest observation you've made through 2 weeks of Titans camp? I continue to just be impressed with all things Calvin Ridley. There is a lot to like, a lot to love about the Calvin Ridley experience, especially since you are going to be leaning on him more than ever without DeAndre Hopkins in the lineup for the foreseeable future. The thing that has stood out to me that way in particular is listening to Nick Holtz talk about Levis and working with his wide receivers. Nick Holtz, of course, the new offensive coordinator for the Titans under Brian Callahan.
The one thing is they really all see the game. So like yesterday during special teams, I think after our first kind of mildly scripted, kind of light scripted, where it was a lot of variation and stuff out there, the amount of information they were able to get back to Will and to me and to Brian was like, it was pretty impressive. Just that, hey, I saw the corner do this, I did this. Hey, we see these things, and we don't have all the plays in, and we didn't have all the plays up yesterday. But for those three, their level of experience and knowledge for Will and for all of us, I think it helps us in the long run.
So that is Nick Holtz talking about the wide receiver trio, including Hopkins in that clip, but Ridley a part of it. Calvin Ridley is different than any wide receiver that they have. Calvin Ridley is just about different than any other wide receiver that I've seen here. AJ Brown getting drafted here is the most talented wide receiver that the Titans have ever drafted organically. Derek Mason is the best wide receiver that the Titans have ever drafted. The most accomplished wide receiver that the Titans have ever drafted, but he's not the most physically talented. That was AJ. AJ, while he was here, though, was not the AJ Brown of the Philadelphia Eagles. He was excellent, no question. And you would take AJ Brown back in a heartbeat. I'm sure many of you, even though I think there's some of you who still harbor some resentment about social media and did he actually want to be here and all this other crap that doesn't matter now because he's an Eagle. And Julio was here for a while. Now, I will say of Julio Jones, while that did not go to plan, watching Julio practice before the hamstring started to become an issue was, fascinating. But the thing that stood out to me about Julio is, one, he at peak Julio, the thing that made Julio so incredible is Julio Jones is a massive human being, but he runs the routes with the speed and efficiency of a player, half his size. Nobody Julio Jones's size should be able to stop and start the way that he was and accelerate with such ease. And of course, all the highlight reel catches and that peak Julio Jones was, but that wasn't peak Julio Jones here with the Titans. By the way, I think he's still wandering around Philadelphia Eagles camp, as a matter of fact. Calvin Ridley is much different because Julio was still an NFL player when he was here and still had a couple of moments left to him. But Calvin Ridley consistently can do that at a high level. And the injuries, I know he's joked about having the body of a 25-year-old, even though he's technically 29. And that's not inconsequential. Something to monitor since he's on a 4-year deal. For Calvin Ridley, man, he has been excellent. And the fact that the biggest adjustment that's having to be made is how the quarterbacks are just having to catch up to the speed of Ridley to make Ridley the most efficient and most effective version of himself. They got to get the timing worked out properly between him and Levis. And I'm certain that more time, more reps throughout the preseason training camp into the regular season, they will be able to find that in sync vibe that is required to have the best quarterback wide receiver combination between the two. All right, with that, we will welcome Bert in. I just combined a bunch of words there. For in case you missed it, right after I remind you that the Primetime program is presented by the Ashton Real Estate Group of Remax Advantage. Go to GaryAshton.com, get your dream address without the stress, and remember, don't sell without the intel that the Ashton team can provide. All right, Bert, get in here. What do you got?
I catch you slipping?
No, have you only ever gotten me once with a jump scare? I don't think you've ever gotten me more than once.
Stop it. I've gotten you multiple times walking in the office.
You have jump scare. You have attempted to scare me coming in the office, but you've only ever gotten me to actually jump once. Most times I just whack you with my bag and keep walking.
You always assault me in any of my sophomorish pranks. So whatever the hell the word is, this isn't the Olympics of damn grammar, buddy. This is the Olympics, USA. We got to beat China, dude. I don't know if you've seen the medal count, but I know we have more medals, but I want more gold. It's like a video game, and we got to keep stacking them up. We got to win everything: gold, silver, bronze. We got to come in first, second, and third, as far as I'm concerned. Even in events where there's only one of us, we got to win them all.
Pride on the line, absolutely.
You agree with that?
It's not insignificant that you are that it's the U.S. and China. There's a lot of symbolism globally, especially given the state of the economic. I don't know if you're financially invested, Bert, but the stock market took an absolute beating today on both the Dow and the Asian markets. So that was unfortunate to see. But that's not what we're not also here to talk about economics. We're here to talk about winning gold medals, baby. So where are we on the gold medal? What events are you going to be highlighting specifically for this?
So some of the newer events that we've getting seen so far. So apparently they've added breakdancing, but it's not called breakdancing. I don't know what it's called. Haven't gotten to see breaking. It's just called breaking.
It's called breaking.
Well, hell yeah. I can't wait to see some breaking. But I saw highlights of this, and since we're not technically allowed to play video of it, I had to find somebody's bootleg-ass janky version of it where they recorded it off their TV. But have you seen speed walking before?
I have, yes.
So there are few rules, no running, 1 foot has to be on the ground at all times, and you've got to move your hips like a complete moron.
Trained sometimes with Nick Christie and also with Canadian Evan Dunphy. And so he likes the training group that he has.
The fact that the camera around the corner is faster than the walkers. That's cool that they're going under the Eiffel Tower and shit like that. That's actually a great picture. The leg ass video, isn't it?
The guy, the guy who's calling this sounds like he is also he is in the race. Listen to him talk. Listen to him talking. No, he just sounds very zesty. See, sometimes it's very hard to get through this crowd where everybody just wants to elbow you back and forth. He sounds very zesty while he's walking through the.
Zesty, okay, I like that.
You like the zesty motive? My other favorite thing I saw this weekend was a man in the pole vault competition. He did not win, which is unfortunate, and it wasn't because of the pole vault. It was his pole's fault.
We should have. We probably should have prefaced that by saying there is going to be some not safe for work. I mean, it technically is safe for work.
It's on TV. You can see it on the Olympics. How is it not safe for work? Anybody at work at 8 o'clock at night?
Gentleman, I mean, if you imagine, because Bork says it correctly, he lost, but he won. Imagine walking into the Olympic Village, trying to pick up, trying to engage in perhaps some extracurricular activities, and saying, "Hey, honey, I didn't medal. You want to know why?"
She knows why. She knows exactly why. That's why she hung out with him.
That was a French pole vaulter that was dismembered by his member in his efforts to achieve any kind of gold, silver, or bronze. Apparently, touching the pole touching is grounds for
proud of yourself.
Disqualification.
One more time for people in the back.
No, I'm just jealous. That's all.
Sure, I'm not exactly happy about that white noise in the background. Boing, look at that.
Like I said, we should have warned you, not safe for work. But yes, Devin Mills points out all 3 legs must clear the bar, sir. Most of us don't have to worry about that kind of a situation, but this particular French pole vaulter, unfortunately, was undone by one of what I'm sure is one of his greatest strengths.
Oh no, baby! I'm sure you could make gold. It's perfect.
Get off the screen right now. See, you guys don't understand what I have to work with on a regular basis, how hard it is to try and make this a professional operation, and then we show you videos like that. It's going to do it for us tonight on the radio show. On the primetime show. Got my shows mixed up. Radio show tomorrow, 10 to 1 on 104.5 The Zone. Titans practice is closed to media, so we will not be broadcasting from Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. But right now, on the 2 days that we are broadcasting from Titans training camp, the plan is to have, and I'm not sure who's going to be on Thursday and who's going to be on Wednesday, but we are expecting to have both Tavondre Sweat and J.C. Latham on the radio show this week at Titans camp. So that is what we are looking forward to this week. You can subscribe to the podcast of the radio show if you haven't already done that. If you can't catch the radio show live from 10 to 1 on 104.5 The Zone. Keith Bullock also going to be in studio with us tomorrow. So we will look forward to that as well. Have a great rest of your evening. Go adopt Happy from Crossroads Pets here in Germantown / North Nashville. That sweet, sweet angel. I want to know that he got a good home. I will be following up with people at Crossroads. So if any of you certainly are interested, I would highly recommend the people at Crossroads. They do great work. Been going to them for years for other pet related stuff, but they also have cats and dogs available for adoption. So if Happy's already gone by the time you get the opportunity to consider helping one of their less fortunate pets, certainly they have many great options that will make a difference in your family's life. Picture of the dog, please. Says no offense. Yeah, I tried to. Apparently, the picture that I airdropped to the laptop is not in the proper format. So let me see if I can't just do this in real time and get it to convert so I can put it up here for you guys. We just started calling him Happy. I don't know. He had tags and a collar on him that had been filed off so that you cannot return him to wherever it was that the people, whoever dumped him outside of Crossroads this morning. It's unless he's microchipped. And, frankly, I'm kind of hoping that he's not, because I don't think I want to see him returned to the situation that saw him dumped off at Crossroads this morning. It's not allowing me to upload the picture right now, but you can go to Twitter at Buck Rising. You can see the picture that I posted of the sweet boy at 6:30 this morning. And if you're interested, Crossroads Pets here in Germantown will get you. Oh, there's Happy. How did Bert get a picture up there before I did? Yeah, he's very skinny, but he's a medium to small sized dog, and just could not have been a sweeter boy. That's in my backyard today after we brought him home. And again, many thanks to Austin Stanley, who helped me get Happy over to Crossroads while I was still on the radio, so he would not have to endure the Middle Tennessee heat today. In fact, that picture honestly does not do him justice. I think he's a much cuter dog than that picture would allow for. But yeah, we brought him out of the crate, or brought him with his crate back to the house. The cats were displeased about it, and then Austin was able to help get him over to Crossroads while I was still on the air today. So hopefully, Lewis says Happy will be sad without you, Buck. I don't think that my schedule allows for the best possible dog ownership, truly, because I'm about to be out of town for a lot of different weekends upcoming. I'm hardly home at all right now with training camp and stuff like that, and I just don't think that's a fair existence for the dog, because I live in a 3-bedroom house by myself. I don't have anybody else here for the dog, other than if I wanted to let Bert run around in my home on a regular basis to dog sit, which I already struggle with when he cat sits for me during football season. Noah says, is he healthy besides the fleas? I had a vet appointment scheduled for him today, Noah, and that was before we got him turned into Crossroads. So they'll be able to update you specifically on his health. I gave him flea and tick prevention today. So at least he has been started on a regimen of flea and tick prevention. He does need to be fixed, worth noting. But honestly, if Noah or anybody who goes and adopts Happy, if any kind of fees or anything like that, or the cost of getting him neutered is a drawback for you, please let me know, because I would be happy to contribute. Whatever. I probably need to make a donation to Crossroads anyway. I'm about due for one. But I would be happy to contribute to the cause of getting Happy adopted for anybody who would be willing to take that sweet boy into their home, because I've never been a big dog person, but he melted me pretty fast this morning when I saw him abandoned and stuck outside in a crate after somebody had dumped him. And I don't know what time they dumped him, but I found him at 6:30 this morning outside of Crossroads Pets. So let me know. DM me on Twitter or Instagram, and we'll see if we can't help facilitate the adoption of sweet Happy. Alex says if they can't afford to get him fixed, they can't afford him. Yeah, that's probably a fair point, Alex. But I don't want to. I just want to help. That's all I mean by that. So I don't think that's an unfair point to your credit. But I just want to. I want to be able to help if I can. So just let me know if I can, and I'd be happy to do that. Have a great rest of your night. Radio show tomorrow. Keith Bullock in studio. Talk to you guys then on 104.5 The Zone.
Go home! Go home! Go home! You're embarrassing Nashville. Go home.